Hello, I'm Eli Stacy, and today I'm going to give an overview of the GHT interface layout for the RefBox application. This layout is specifically designed for stewards of Greyhound, harness, and thoroughbred racing, but as you'll see, can be used for other applications as well. We're first going to cover its UI, then go into live operation, and finish by exporting races and re-importing them for later review. Let's get started. At the top of our UI, we have all of our races displayed. As we go and create each clip, we'll give it a race number, which will show up at the top. And if we import previous races, we'll see that listed here as well, but instead in alphabetical order instead of numbers. Below that, we have our live inputs. So we have 6 cameras in this case, and below that, we have a large preview of any one of these cameras. Now, I'm currently on screen 1, so if I tap on the red section, I can see each live camera. And if I go to screen 2 and tap on the green section of a video source, I can decide what goes into this window. Or I can select double and be looking at both of them simultaneously. Now, these outputs can be obviously on the UI itself, but also can be outputted via SDI or NDI to large television monitors for a clearer view of the image. If we go to our races and select on one of them, we see on the right we have our cues bin. So we have different marked points in time within this race that are noteworthy. For instance, right now I have the start and finish points, but I can also have different points in time for things like infractions or the corner pole. And if we select on one of these clips, another thing you'll notice is at the top we have information about that race. So for instance, we have the date, we have which race number it is, we have the distance, we have the group that it's in, but we can also add other information such as whether it's on a dirt or a turf track. And finally, at the bottom, I have my playout control. This is similar to the rest of the RefBox, so I have my slider for moving backwards or forwards through the video. I can jump frame by frame, or I have different playout control speeds. Currently I have them at 50 and 25, but we can change those to much slower ones such as 20 and 10 if we want to watch them go across the finish line. I have play, pause, live for going back to my live inputs. I can also jump 3 seconds behind the live, or I can loop a certain section of video so I can review from multiple angles a certain quick action that takes place if I want to review that in more detail. And then at the bottom right, I have all of my clipping for creating our races. During live operation, the first thing that we'll want to do is create a clip for the entirety of the race. So I've scrubbed back a little bit to go to the very beginning of the race, where I'll mark an in point. Then from here, I will use this slider here to slide all the way to the end. I'm currently on screen 1, which will be the finish line, which he is just about to pass. That's all of the horses. So I'm going to mark an out point and save it. We already have the first race, so what we'll do is go down to the race number dropdown and select race 2. We can then select which group it is, the distance, and we can select that it was on a turf. So cool, so we have those keywords added to this race. I press OK, and I now see that that race is added to the top, and it's race 2. So when I tap on that, it'll jump me back to the very beginning of that race. Now let's go through the race and create cue points at notable points throughout it. So let's scrub through a little bit. That's the very beginning of the race, so I'm going to mark a point and press start. Press OK. Then we can scrub through. They can go through the race. Nothing's really happening here. Maybe right around here is where the corner pole is going to be. So this is the final corner right before the finish line. So I'm going to mark and put the corner pole there so they know that if the stewards are reviewing it, if they just want to see the last stretch of the race, they can go to that marked point in time. Then they can see the finish. So this is him just about to finish the race. So I'm going to do another marked point and mark finish. So now on the right, we have 3 different cue points. So I can go from the start, I can go to the corner pole, and then right at the finish line. So it's very easy to review important parts even within the race. And you can also create other cue points throughout the race. So for instance, if we go back a little bit, perhaps around here it's a little bit crowded, so there was perhaps some instances where the jockeys were hitting the wrong horse. When they were whipping the horse, they accidentally hit something else. That's an infringement. We can add that as a cue point in time. As you can see, even though we created it later, this is still in chronological order. So I can now go through, select on any one of these, and review them. So some other ways to review is, of course, we can decide our playout speed. So right at the finish line, we can see them playing out at 25%. We have a good look on it to see that that middle horse was the one that made it across in time, number 3. The next option I have for reviewing the race is the ability to pinch and zoom on any of my sources. So for instance, these 3 horses are pretty close for second place. So what we can do is we can slide to get pretty close to the finish line here. Then I can just pinch and zoom on this source. From here, I can now jump frame by frame, and I can see that that middle horse was the first one to cross the line. And it's much easier to see by zooming in. I can also, if I go to the double, I can zoom in independently on each one of these sources. So I can go to another one and zoom in, and even while it's zoomed in, as you saw, I can continue playing it out. And finally, the last thing that we can use to review is the ability to loop a certain section of video. So if I scrub back a little bit and I want to review a specific action from more than these 2 angles, what I can do is press loop and press play, or I can play it out at any one of my speeds, and you'll see that it'll now loop this next 3 seconds. So I can play it out at 50%, and now what I can do is I can switch between the different camera angles that I have loaded to get a repeating view of the same action, and I can go through and monitor and look at every single angle available to me. So while I'm in this loop, I can still zoom in and I can say, okay, maybe they were really close to hitting the other horse there or knocking each other. This is a really powerful tool for stewards to be able to review an action from every angle. Once we're done reviewing this race, all we need to do is go to the bottom and press live. If we have any cameras zoomed in, there's a reset zoom button here. Then once we're done, we can now go on to exporting this race for archive and future review. To export a race, all we need to do is go to the top and tap on the race, then go to above that and press export. We will see that there's a bar going across that race, which means it's transcoding. I currently have it set to transcode to H.264, so it's very easy to play it on any device. Once it's done exporting, we'll see that there's a check mark at the top there. Then if we go to our file destination, here, GHD overview, I now have every single camera angle of this race, and it also has information about the race. So for instance, I see that there's the race number, I see that it's a 5 furlong turf, and all of that information is added to each of the clips, including the camera name. Along with it, there is an RBC file. This contains metadata information that's useful for when we import the clip. To import a clip, we just go to the left of export, where we see the import button. I now see that within that folder that I exported to, I have all of my camera angles along with that RBC file. I select that RBC file and press open. Then I go to my imported races where I see that that will now load. Once it's done importing, all I need to do to review it is tap on it like I would for any of my races. Once I tap on that and it loads, I now see that I have all the same information that I had before. I have every single camera angle. I also have all of my cue points that I created for this clip. Now I can go through and review it just like I did before. If I want, I can scrub through. I can play it out at different speeds. I can create new mark points at any point in time, just like I would have as if I just created this clip. Because these are files, I could be loading this weeks after this race was created. So if I want to show a jockey, you made this infraction last week, here's a review of it. This is a very useful feature to be able to go back, review, see all the cue points, and being able to quickly give an overview of races that have previously happened. Thanks for watching. If you'd like to learn more about the RefBox or the VBox platform, there's information on our website.